Hi, it's Paul here from Rainbow Power. Today I'm going to be showing you how to shut down and start up your large off-grid power system. What's really important here is that we do this in a certain order, and the easiest way to remember this is to follow our shutdown procedure that we actually put on every single board. So if you follow these steps to shut down, what we do is we actually reverse these steps to start back up. The basic premise is that we're going to turn power off at the furthest reaches from the system and come back towards the battery bank to turn it off. When we turn it back on, we actually come from the battery and turn back on towards the power points in your appliances. The first thing to shut down is an external source of power, like the generator. So if you have an external generator, it might be out in a shed, you need to go out and make sure that you've turned that off and turned any circuit breakers off away from the system over where that might be located. If it's an auto start generator, you also need to disengage the auto start function on that generator. Next, we want you to turn off your appliances. So particularly your computers or things like that, that if we turn off power to the house, that you might lose vital information. So shut down your computer like you normally would, but then what we'll do is all of our appliances, we want you to go around and actually turn the power point off. This is important because when we come to turn the system back on, we don't want a big surge load actually hitting the inverter and maybe overloading the inverter. So we want to slowly, progressively bring the power back onto the house. So we've turned off the power points. The next place that we're actually going to turn off is our main circuit breakers inside our AC distribution box. So here we've got our main switch, our circuit breakers and our main switch. In our second box here, we've actually got all the circuit breakers that are relating to our system. So we're turning off the Sunny Island inverter. We're actually turning off the Sunny Boy here, which is our solar inverter, the relay, and these are our generator switches from the generator coming in. We've now stopped 240 volt electricity actually moving around in the system, and what you'll find is the solar inverter will have a red light which is indicating a fault because it can't detect 240 volt electricity in the system anymore. That's perfectly okay. This will rectify itself once you turn the system back on. Next, we're going to stop the solar actually coming into the solar inverter, and how we're going to do that is we're going to actually turn the DC isolator off on the side of the Sunny Boy inverter. Once this is off, we now don't have power flowing into the system from the solar panels. We come across here further, you'll notice that the Sunny Island is still actually producing power. And we can see that through the green LEDs that are actually on the front here. To turn off the Sunny Island inverter, we're actually going to hold our finger on the off switch until all the lights turn off. We now aren't creating any 240 volt electricity in the system anymore. If we come down here through the main HRC Fuse into the battery bank, we still have lights on the battery bank. To turn off the battery bank, we're actually got to turn off the switch on the BMU. It's a bit tricky here, it's located on the bottom of the BMU. There's a little white switch here with a light. We're going to hold that down and it nearly takes 5 seconds until the system turns off. Once you hear the click and the lights have actually been extinguished, then there's no power in the system anymore. We come around the back of the battery here, there is another DC isolator that we can turn off. The system's actually now safe to work on. There's no power flowing through the system anymore, it's all been turned off. There is one more fuse though that I will show you though, and this is our main HRC fuse. We only advise you use this in an emergency to shut down the system very, very quickly. So if you grab hold of the handle here, you can pull to remove it. The fuse comes right out, and we can actually physically remove the whole handle. We can actually replace the fuses in here as well. So these are replaceable fuses. To put the HRC back in, what we're actually going to do is we're actually just going to sit it back in its position, but we need to make sure that it's moving freely. So make sure the handle is moving quite freely before we push it in. Bring it up and then push it all the way home, which is quite a strong action, and make sure that it's seated back in. So that completed the shutdown procedure. What we do to actually start the system back up is we reverse that process. So you can actually just follow from the bottom back up from the shutdown procedure here, you can follow it in reverse. So again, we're going to start at our battery. So to turn the battery on, what we're going to do is we're going to hold our finger on the battery button this time, not the BMU, on the battery, until the lights come on the battery. You can see how the lights actually are indicating here. It takes a few seconds to actually start up and become stable. Once the lights are actually blinking white, we know the battery is turned on. Again, around the corner here, we need to turn the DC isolator into the on position. We now have power flowing out of the battery up through the HRC, up to our Sunny Island inverter. To turn the Sunny Island on, we're actually going to hold our finger on the on button. We press it once and it goes through a bit of a startup sequence. This can take a few seconds, and it's actually finished once the lights are actually going green. So we blink yellow, the battery light comes on, and our inverter light is actually yellow at the moment. This means the inverter's in standby. To get the inverter to be operational, we need to hold the on-off button, okay, or the run button. We hold it for a few seconds until the Sunny Island beeps, and now the light has turned green. That means the Sunny Island's producing 240 volt power. So as we discussed, we turned off the solar inverter last time. Now we need to turn the DC back onto the solar inverter. So that's done through the DC isolator on the side here. We now have power flowing into the Sunny Boy solar inverter. We'll get a light that turns on here at this stage. Again, back through our AC distribution box. So if we've got a generator running, we can turn the generator on. We can also turn on our switches here. This is now connecting all of our solar equipment together. And we can see that we've got the run lights now on the Sunny Boy inverter. Moving up, we now need to send the power out to the power point, so we're going to turn our main switch on and our RCDs on. We now have power flowing out to our power points. Last and not least, we'll need to turn all of the individual power points on that we actually turned off in the shutdown. If you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about renewable energy, please subscribe. Yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Take care.